Hi, can you hear me,
Yeah,
Danny?
all good. What's new?
Yeah, I have two questions actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remembered, I emailed you like months ago about the antibiotics thing and about the about my concerns about the hearing loss and then stuff.
That rings a bell for sure. Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to try actually like erythromycin and tetracycline. And I have a course too. And I don't know how should I start? How should I start with the dosages actually?
Well, so number one, I should probably say this before I get on, but I'm not a doctor. I'm just a
Yeah.
simpleton on the internet, and nobody should do anything based on anything that I say. With erythromycin and penicillin, my understanding is that the doses are anywhere from, like, according to like a Ray Peat point of view, the doses are anywhere from 30 to like 250 milligrams, split up into a few doses throughout the day. And I think the half life for both of those is relatively short. And And then with tetracyclines, it depends on what tetracycline a person is using. So I think the normal tetracycline is like 100 to 200 milligrams split up twice in the day. And then minocycline can be really small, like up to like 10 milligrams 2 times per day. And then doxy is like 25 2 times per day. And I'm just referencing the amounts that I've tried. But in general, Ray leaned heavily on the side of like being conservative with them and not taking too much. And and then there's no shame in trying like a really tiny dose, just see how a person responded to it. And then of course you have to take vitamin K when you take antibiotics. But did that answer your question? That's my general thinking on it.
Yeah, that's good. Like, because I still have like severe anxiety through the day and cold hands and feet and that stuff. And I can't even tolerate like 1 microgram of T3 and I still have diarrhea throughout the day. And somehow like I started to eat cheese and that is better. So I don't have that much diarrhea and I still have like white tongue and that stuff. It's pretty bad.
I mean, that's pretty similar to my story. Like I thought I must have had some raging infection because I was having diarrhea 20 times per day. And I was listening to Ray on KMUD or I think, or maybe East West Healing or something. And he said that was a sign of an infection. And I think I thought that in the back of my head, but I didn't even know what to do about it. And so, but he was the only person on the planet in the health world that thought that using antibiotics was not some death sentence. And of course, he had specific antibiotics that he thought were safe. And he told me legitimately that there were ones that were really dangerous. And so, but again, I was like desperate. I mean, having diarrhea that much every day is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, so it started actually 2 years ago. I've done for 2 years now, and I was like prescribed like 10 different antibiotics, but also dangerous ones. And then it started, I don't know why, the diarrhea and then stuff and the anxiety. It started after that actually.
Oh, got it. Yeah. That must have created some dysfunction in your intestine.
And would it be good like to try the antibiotics for that actually, for that thing, or like other stuff, other things?
I'm kind of under the. I mean, there's a paper called "Small Intestinal Bacterial Overgrowth Association with Hypothyroidism," and it talks about how when a person's been low thyroid for a long time, it's easy to develop an infection, and and then of course that creates its own problems, and sometimes it leads to low cholesterol and things like that. So I kind of think a person should go by low hanging fruit first, like try the carrot salad, and then try the mushrooms, and maybe something like Megaspore biotic, and make sure their vitamin D level is good, and and then if they can get antibiotics from their doctor, like, and they could try them like comfortably, I think there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But again, the only
Yeah.
people saying that you should absolutely not do this are like traditional esoteric health people, and I think their advice is mostly terrible. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, so I tried the mushrooms actually. I try them every day, like 100 grams with coconut oil and salt and vinegar, and that helps a bit. The bowel movements are more solid, but still like diarrhea. I already tried like the Megaspore biotic and things like doxycycline, but it didn't help. Like the Megaspore biotic made it worse somehow. And my cholesterol, I checked it like I think half a year ago it was like 198 nanograms. That's in that range.
Okay.
And vitamin D was also good. Yeah, like 80, 81. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that the person with inflammatory digestion, and they're eating well, I think that's always the harder thing to overcome. And people with just normal constipation, that's almost a lot easier. When the gut is
Yeah.
really inflamed, I think the person is in a more severe stress state.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask a second question if you have the time,
Sure,
actually.
we don't have too many people here, so go for it.
Yeah, a few months ago you wrote about like angiotensin blockers, which could be effective like if a person is vaccinated. And unfortunately, I got vaccinated like 3 years ago. I didn't know about repeat back then. And yeah, did you try it out actually?
I haven't. I keep forgetting. Like we've been in town multiple times, and I did have to buy some antibiotics for my dogs, but I totally just completely blanked on getting some. But I do want to try losartan and probably candesartan as well. But I have not have firsthand experience with it.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I wanted to start like with the candy sartan, like 2 milligrams, just to try it out. If it's good.
Yeah, I mean, angiotensin is. I originally read about it for hair loss. Like, there's actually information about aldosterone's association with baldness, and so I thought that was pretty interesting. And hypertension has long been associated with baldness. And it's just like so funny that we had Ray on the podcast during that time because there's nobody on planet Earth that was more equipped to talk about it. Like the whole mechanism of the vaccine is to rouse the system that he's been writing about for a long time, saying that it's really important to keep it quiet. I
Yeah.
just couldn't believe it. It's insane.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Sounds very good.
Cool, bro. Abby, what's going on?
Hello, Ben. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yes. I have two questions, but they are a bit strange. So from like as I remember from my childhood, I have a fear of heights. Like I
Hey, Abby, I'm
can't.
having a really hard time understanding you.
Okay.
Anyway, you can come
Can you hear
close.
me now?
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
Okay. So from my childhood, as I can remember, I have fear of heights. Like I can't really look down on very large buildings. So is this something related to metabolic health or is it just psychological?
Man, I'm going to butcher this experiment, but don't they? Wasn't there like a rat study? I think we talked about on the podcast where they were able to like introduce a citrus smell to the rats and then scare them, and then that was passed down transgenerationally, and maybe it was a Sheldrake experiment or something like that. So it could just be people in your familial tree or something that were afraid of heights or something. But I don't think that's that uncommon. But I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Okay, okay. So is there any kind of solution to that, or just you have to psychologically like be okay with it, like training on the mental model?
I really don't know. I don't know how to get over something
Okay,
like that. I mean, assume it has some overactivation of the sympathetic nervous system or something like that. But as for the fear itself, that might just be like inherited in some collective conscious cloud or something. I'm not sure how it works.
okay, okay. And the second thing is, I have a very good memory. Like I don't forget things, and I don't have any certain problems with attached to metabolic health about memory. But I have this weird thing. I can't really remember like routes. Like if I driving or I have to recollect the directions, I can't really recollect them. So I have to like go to the same route multiple times in order to remember them. And same with like if I close my eyes and try to, in a room, if I close my eyes in a room and try to remember which way the door is or which way the window is, then I really can't help with that. So is it about something about some spatial memory or in a like related to metabolic health also?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some angle on it for metabolism, but I mean, the first thing you described is the same thing for me. Like, I have to experience a route to really commit it to memory. And like, I think that's what the experiential like not angle for everything is. So I don't know if that's like a metabolic defect, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked too deeply into any of this. Generally, just for everybody on listening, if I haven't posted about it, I probably don't know much about it.
Okay. No, no.
But
I thought that
it's a good
maybe.
question though.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And just a small question. Last time on the Friday call, you mentioned that you take large doses of K2, but I was asking like, how would you consume K2? Like under the tongue or in a capsule or in a powder form? Like how would you take it? Or in a, or
I'm
in a,
losing your audio again. What was the substance?
like last time on the call, you mentioned you take K2 in a large doses. So I was wondering, like, how do you take it? Like in a capsule or in oil, like below the tongue or topically?
Got it. For a long time, I was using it topically, but since Richard of Lark Supply, and I'm not associated with Richard's company, but I like Richard a lot, and that's why I keep mentioning him on these Helpline episodes. But people keep asking me, it's a Lark Supply, LARK supply.co. But anyways, I've been using his vitamin K orally with food, like maybe a piece of cheese or something, and I have no issues with it. And it's way less expensive than trying to apply it topically, because if you applied something topically, you might absorb 5 or 10% of it or something. And so if you can manage to take it orally, if it's in olive oil, I think that's best probably.
Okay, so basically you just eat it with a cheese, like dip in a cheese or just
Yeah, but you
put
could
it
just
in tub.
eat it with a meal. That'd be fine too.
Okay,
Cool,
thanks.
bro.
Hello.
Yo, what's going on?
So I'm asking this on behalf of my mother. I would just want to know your opinion on this. So she has been having gut issues for the past 9 months to a year, I think. She's been having constant nausea, like diarrhea, and she has loss of appetite, but wants to eat. I mean, in order to have energy to do daily tasks and something and stuff. The thing is, she went through divorce, which has affected her tremendously through a stress perspective, let's say. And so I think she told me, I'm not sure if this is her own opinion or a doctor's opinion, but she told me she has a Barrett's syndrome. She had gastritis at first, and then now it has developed into Barrett's syndrome. So I'm thinking, what could be the remedy to all of this? I'm suspecting she has thyroid issues, though she told me her blood tests came in looking normally, but obviously the normal of the doctors and the normal what, let's say, Ray considers are different. So I wanted to know your opinion on how can we remedy this, let's say.
From my kind of uneducated non-doctor opinion, it sounds kind of like an infection. So a lot of what we talked about with the first caller would probably apply, and maybe trying the carrot salad just to see if that made any dent in it, or the well-cooked white button mushrooms. But like whenever I hear diarrhea and it's not, if the person is eating pretty well, to me that's kind of a tip off that the person probably has an infection. And but that's from what you just said, that's what it strikes me as a possibility.
So I wouldn't say she eats well. Trying to educate her, let's say, on like the eating ways that wouldn't harm her gut even further, but she won't really listen. So I think that's the starting point, right? To start eating well, and then like trying to lower estrogen, I would say, as well in the gut.
Yeah, just like if the carrot salad just helped, even when she was not eating well, it might give her more energy to start modifying the nutrition and things like that. I've talked to a lot of people that like bedridden, and it's like kind of stupid to tell them to start modifying their diet. And so any in route that you can have on the situation, whether it's like a vitamin D supplementation or progesterone or a carrot salad or whatever, like I think that can usually improve the situation, but it's hard if there's like no buy-in from the person.
What do you think about aspirin as well being applied in this case? Do you think it's better to clean up the gut, let's say, first by like eating carrots every day and then trying to use aspirin, or?
Well, when I had bad diarrhea, aspirin was one of the things that there was like a little bit of a learning curve to it, but I think when my digestion was really bad, I think I kind of instinctively knew that it did help. And so, and Ray had mentioned multiple times that it had antiseptic effects when you would use it. And so I think I was like even more on board with aspirin possibly than thyroid. Like I think I kind of was accepted the idea that aspirin was more helpful initially than thyroid, and then got into thyroid later. But yeah, I mean, everything should be contingent on it making a person feel good, you know? So if somebody tried it and they liked it, that would be the ultimate test, and not like some hypothetical, you know? Like for example, my ex-girlfriend, during COVID, she was trying to get a job, and in Thailand, they like make you work like a day, like interviewing for a job. So she'd come back and just be crazy defeated. And I gave her an aspirin one time, and keep in mind, she doesn't care about any of this, or she didn't care about any of this. And she took the aspirin and then like a week later asked me for it again. And I took that as like a huge win because again, she didn't care about any of this metabolic stuff and she started asking me for it. I thought that was huge.
I see. There's also, I'm rewatching your generative energy episodes with Georgi. And in the episode number 3, I think you and Tim talked about this drug that has glycine in it as well as a supplementary drug to aspirin. Do you think that would be better to start with rather than just usual aspirin?
My memory is a bit fuzzy. Was that a aspirin with glycine in it?
Yeah, I think the drug was called Godasal. I think it was either Russian or Czech drug. That's what Georgi talked about.
I mean, if I had that in front of me right now, I'd definitely try it, but I don't have access to it. So I couldn't speak on it, but I mean, that seems harmless to combine the two.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Fungus Among Us, what's going on?
Hey, thanks so much. Recently, you made a post about using 2 antibiotics for H. pylori, I think, but then you also mentioned doing that for SIBO. I'm just curious. I've been having H. pylori symptoms for years, probably on and off, and the mastic gum was working for a while, and then I was doing activated charcoal. And then recently started trying olive oil, and they all seem to kind of like quell things temporarily. The activated charcoal worked the best, but I just don't want to use that every day. So yeah, just wondering if I should just skip to antibiotics now, or someone mentioned trying bismuth, like Pepto-Bismol.
For what it's worth, that was from an email. So I think maybe in 2018 or 2019, somebody asked Ray what they should do for H. pylori. And he replied like amoxicillin or penicillin with erythromycin or clarithromycin. And I thought it was funny because that's basically what they do at like a normal MD. And then his only addition to that was to take, like he mentioned that olive oil has anti-H. pylori effects. But it's so funny. We've basically been down the same road. Like I thought I had H. pylori maybe in like 2006 or 7 or something. And it's mastic gum, manuka honey, and like all these things that I just don't think work, you know? But I think I thought I had maybe like a reoccurrence or something of that in maybe 2017 or 18. And I tried for the first time penicillin and I think it was clarithromycin together. And I got a big bump from it. It was, I remember because I had not tried 2 antibiotics until that point. And I remember thinking it was way more powerful than trying either one alone. And a lot of the stuff that Ray talks about is anti-H. pylori. Like progesterone has anti-H. pylori effects.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, did I drift off your question?
No. I mean, it's also just really helpful to hear that, you've had this experience too, just trying different things, and
well,
one
it
comes
other thing
back
is
because it's they're supposed to be in the gut, right? Like just not in such high numbers, maybe.
Yeah, that's my understanding. One other thing is I think on one of the last Generative Energies, I think it did come up again. And I asked Ray, I told him, I said something like H. pylori is more common in hypothyroid people. And he gave me like an, oh yeah. Like, so I think it's kind of something everybody's dealing with. Like once a person's been low thyroid for a long time, they tend to develop some type of infection.
Right. Yeah. Mine started rearing up when I was coming off of carnivore. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I remember like a major carnivore person saying like, you can't have an infection on carnivore. And I was like, oh yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. There was a lot of denial going on.
The whole thing is a big soup of denial. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you mentioned hypothyroidism with that, and I had tried various forms of thyroid medication or methods, I guess, because I only tried NDT and Cynomel. But yeah, I think I heard you say recently that or at some point, that you tend to take T3 at night. Did you say that? Maybe it was someone else.
Ray was the first person to say that. He would say he would take T3 during the day and then he'd save his Sinoplus for night. But if you really read into it, it didn't even sound like he was taking Sinoplus until the winter time. But for myself, I mean, obviously I go by symptoms. I don't just go by season, but like it's kind of cold right now. So I'm taking Sinoplus multiple times throughout the day. So with a little T3 but there's no wrong way to do that. Like, for example, another person I knew, they had issues taking Sinomel, or no, they had issues taking Sinoplus before they went to bed. So they moved it up to the morning and they got along fine with it. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but sometimes it just works better to take Sinoplus at nighttime.
Okay, yeah, I probably just need to keep trying different things until I figure out what is working. Because I had palpitations for a long time, and that was
that's
probably
from super common adrenaline reaction with the palpitations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I have another question, but I'll let other people go and maybe I'll pop up again.
All right, cheers. Alexander, what's up?
Hey, man, how's it going?
What's going on?
I started a couple years ago. I started taking taurine supplementation for like bodybuilding, like unrelated to peating. But I took like a lot of it, and I think it started like some sort of bile problem, because ever since then, whenever I have to like go poo, like my butt gets itchy and like my poos are like floating like 100% of the time. And I wonder if there's any sort of connection or something I can do to like help with that.
You took my experience like right out of my brain. So a long time ago, I used to hang out on bodybuilding forums all the time. And one was called Mesomorphosis and the other one was called Testonation. And there was one more called All Things Male. But there was a poster on one of those forums. I can't remember which, but her name was Trouble. And she was a biochemist, and all these dudes that would abuse steroids for a long time would try to get her to reply to their threads. She was kind of like the Georgie of like the bodybuilding world on these forums. And she would recommend taurine for everything. And she was convinced that like bile conjugation was like one of the most important elements of like getting well. And so anyways, long story short, I had tried every single like taurine supplement that existed, and I could not get around that problem that you just mentioned. I'd always have bad diarrhea whenever I'd take it. And so I eventually stopped and moved on to other things. This was a long time. This was like 2008. And so anyways, when taurine became popular in the Peat world, I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm not even interested in taking it. Yeah.
No, like, and then like, I see it in the Peat world. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is what caused my problems. And it like persisted even after I stopped taking it too. Kind of thing, like, which was weird. So I wonder if you had anything to like add that would just help with, because I think it is like a bile malabsorption issue.
Well, are your stools like a light color or anything like that?
Yeah, light color. It's not very greasy, but it like, and it's kind of embarrassing, but like it makes my butt itch.
Yeah,
and it is actually what brought me to the peatosphere, I guess. And I've been trying to solve this ever since. And I wonder if you had any like ideas of how to like, I don't know, increase bile absorption so that I don't have these symptoms, I guess.
Unrelated. Silver just hit $78. This is absolutely insane. Okay. The bile, in my limited experience, I think vitamin A is important for bile production. Thyroid is important for bile production. And I think a cholestasis can happen with too much estrogen or endotoxin. And so, for example, I think I've said this on other episodes, but like one time I was having very similar symptoms. And I remember taking some erythromycin and it stopping immediately. And then one time I remember having similar symptoms again and eating liver and it going away. And so I'd probably just cycle through some basic stuff and see if it affected it. But yeah, dude, that
cool.
Bile stuff is pretty close to my heart. I used to have terrible problems with it.
Yeah, man. And wait, I got one more quick thing. What do you think of like putting like your like 2050 watt incandescent light on your thyroid for like thyroid health?
There was a paper, I think a dude shared it a long time ago, and I think it showed that it like lowered TSH or something, and people started running with it and saying that was a really good thing to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I seriously doubt it's going to dramatically improve a person's temperature, but maybe I'm wrong, But yeah, it's not dangerous. It's not harmful. I wouldn't put it too close to the skin. It can like kind of burn, but I'd just be shocked if somebody like actually moved the needle with it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. No, thank you, Danny.
Yeah, sure. Luna, what's up?
Hi, Danny. Merry
What's going on?
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Uh, thank you again for doing this.
Of course.
I wanted to ask a question about the what is the word I'm looking for? The ominous T3 supplementation. I had talked to you like a couple weeks ago about the iron issue that I was having, and I've been, eating more oysters, like you had said Ray was good with, and feeling like way better. And so I tried T3 again when I took it before. And this is kind of what clued me into the iron issue. I had like a really strange reaction. Like, I don't know if it was some adrenaline, but I had like I told you, like swelling and edema in my ankles, which I've never had. And then I stopped taking it and took progesterone and it went away. And I tried it again like a couple weeks later and same thing happened. And so fast forward 6 months later and, getting my iron up and a lot of the iron symptoms going away, I tried it again and I feel like it's really helpful. I'm just testing it to see without like taking T4 because I think I was having a problem in my liver. So not to complicate things, but I did it from what I read from Keith's article. He said that if you don't have enough iron, you can't make T4. So I took it again and I feel like I guess I'm looking for guidance because I just took like 4 to 6 milligrams with food and I feel like it's been quite helpful. Like my hair is feeling thicker, my like sclera, my eyes were sort of, I don't know, not completely white. They were off in color, I would say, and they're back to white. But I'm not noticing any like big changes because my temperatures were already pretty good. So is there anything that you would like give in terms of guidance or like kind of how to navigate through that with like just testing it out, T3, and taking it with food? I'm taking it with food like 3 times a day, just like 4 to 6 milligrams.
Like the weight on a scale, 4 to 6 milligrams. So like 1 or like 1.5 micrograms of T3.
I'm taking Georgie's, so I don't know. I'm just taking a drop and then I'm like dividing it in half again. So I'm just taking like half of the drop basically.
So like something I learned from Ray was the body has 3 or 4 micrograms of T3 at any one moment or any hour. Sorry. So if you're mimicking that amount with food and it's improving your quality of life, I think that's a really good thing. Like normally when I talk to somebody and they're taking T3, like they'll arrive at like a point where they know that it's improving their quality of life. And so if they start taking like 1 microgram at one meal, and then they move that to 1 microgram 2 times per day, then 3 times per day, then 2 micrograms 3 times per day, then 3 micrograms, and then 4 micrograms, so on and so forth. And maybe they get to like 5 micrograms 3 times per day, and they know that it's improving their quality of life. Then they'll swap like maybe the last dose out for some Sinoplus or something like that to add in some T4. But I don't know. I don't think there's any like rush to do anything per se, but it's normally you're just looking for an increase in your pulse and temperature. If your cortisol is sustaining your temperature, it might bring down your temperature temporarily or your pulse rate, and you might feel kind of tired. Another way to check, of course, is the Achilles reflex tendon test, which Dan Witch made a really good video about a long time ago that I think it's still on YouTube. Or you could check your cholesterol. Like high cholesterol is a typical thing from lower thyroid function. But other than that, I'm not like, if you just feel well in general, I don't know if there's any need to take it just if you felt.
Well, I wasn't feeling well. And I think one of the biggest things I did notice now that you bring that up is that I was getting tight calves. And so I know, and I had torn both my calves like in the past couple of years. So I know that the biggest issue has been that my calves and just I would say probably like serotonin, like my body, or lactic acid, my body in general is much lighter. I don't have that. I don't have tightness in my calves after taking it. So, but I'm not noticing like my temperatures were already pretty ideal. Like I told you, I had a session with Keith and he was like, your temperatures are really like, my underarm is like not getting above 98.1, but it's not far, so it's not like and it doesn't drop after I eat. So it goes up in my oral temperature. Like my temperatures in the morning are ideal. And then my oral temperature goes up to 98.6 to 98.9. So, it's been hard with the temperature because I'm not really getting like adrenaline things where if I eat, they drop, or I don't feel high adrenaline at this point. I did before, but I am noticing less tension in my body and just like, I don't know, other just things like I'm sleeping deeply, but I do wake up still. So, I don't know if maybe, is there a reference somewhere with like the amount to go up to? I mean, I'm assuming if you eat it with food and I'm taking like 4 to 6 milligrams, would you want to try to take more with food and see if it helps over that period of digestion?
I mean, there's a few instances where Ray says 10 micrograms with a big meal is, you probably wouldn't want to go more than that. And that's kind of what I do. But I mean, if a person with high adrenaline took 10, they'd freak out, that would be a really bad situation.
Yeah.
And so a person should probably be really careful when doing that. But I mean, if a person needed 50 micrograms per day or something, I mean, you have to get to those bigger doses. It's just the adrenaline thing is always the thing to watch out for, and the cholesterol.
Okay. And just one last thing with taking the T3, do you typically need less progesterone?
That could be an expectation because the thyroid is turning over the cholesterol into pregnenolone than progesterone. And so if the thyroid function comes up, a person might need less of that for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that, I mean, I don't know, it's such a wild, wild west, like figuring this stuff out. But I do think that there was such a drastic difference taking it now after having iron than what I think before not having enough iron. So in it, I think what I had read is that there was like a backlash of TSH because of not having enough T4 if you don't have the iron to make the T4.
Awesome. Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the guidance. I'm
Of course.
still working through it, but I'll keep you posted on my progress.
Awesome. Yeah, great to hear.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Genevieve, what's up?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, so I'm kind of playing off the last question from Luna about thyroid. I'm not really sure what my question is. I guess kind of looking for more insight into what would cause like thyroid supplementation kind of resistance. So I take 100 micrograms of T3 a day, which I realize is a high dose, but I still have hypo symptoms. And then my doctor, like my endocrinologist, tried to lower my dose of T3 down to like 75 micrograms and then add in T4. And when we added T4, and it was just like 50 micrograms of T4, I became like super hypo, like all my symptoms of hypothyroidism, even when taking those doses. So is there some type of like, I don't know, resistance in the body, which like the body is just not, because at those kind of doses, you would think that I would be symptomatic of like having, like not having hypo symptoms. So I'm just trying to understand, like, I know Ray talks about, having a little bit of T4, but what would make someone, when you take T4 with a high dose of T3, not feel well? Like all your hypo symptoms come back. Is there a resistance or something there, or?
Just to preface this, I'm not a doctor, just a dummy on the internet. But
I know, yeah, totally.
As I said, so I need to know more about how are you dosing that 100 micrograms of T3?
So I usually just do it in the morning, empty stomach, all at once, because that's how, I know that like Ray had talked about microdosing it throughout the day, but I don't know. My endocrinologist said, take it all in the morning, first thing, empty stomach. So yeah, that's how I do it.
By the way, you guys are I have 6 dogs under my desk. You will probably hear some weird noises and stuff, just to throw that out there. So my understanding is when you take 100 micrograms of T3, because there's so little in the blood, the liver will just get rid of essentially all of it. And so, you might just be essentially like surviving on stress the rest of the day without much thyroid function. sometimes when you take T4, like T4 suppresses the pituitary, and the pituitary is coordinating the stress response. And so if you take T4 and you immediately feel like low thyroid, you might be experiencing the effects of lowering like the effects of the pituitary, aka cortisol, adrenaline. And that might make you low, whereas you're like really high, like the stress is keeping you up. And so I think that might be like a roller coaster. But have you measured your cholesterol since taking the 100?
Yeah. So I've been on 100 for like, gosh, like over 10 years now. So cholesterol's always been in check. It's like always within range, not too low, not too high. Parathyroid was kind of high earlier this year. My vitamin D was low. I got that back in check.
I was going to ask you about that. So thank goodness you measured it. So you asked about thyroid resistance. I think high parathyroid hormone could cause supplementing thyroid to be very difficult, and in fact, I think I asked Ray directly about this. I think it's on my Instagram. If you scroll like all the way down, I posted it years ago, but it was on an interview with him and I said, Ray, is the parathyroid hormone so powerfully stressful that it could like block a person's thyroid function? And I think his response was like, it's more complicated than that, but yeah, it could. So, and then how low is your vitamin D?
My vitamin D was like 7. And so I actually got it back up to, believe it or not, 150.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty high now. So I haven't had parathyroid rechecks, but I'm pretty sure with my vitamin D high, would that not bring the parathyroid back down to normal ranges?
I'm sure it would lower it for sure, but you need enough calcium as well to help suppress it. So for like a adult, you might need 1,500 or 2,000 milligrams per day. But yeah, I would just think that type of dosing would put a person on a roller coaster. You're probably getting a massive overdose followed by none at all. And it's going to make everything crazy confusing. But if the calcium, like if the parathyroid hormone was high or the prolactin was high or something like that, could definitely make things harder to interpret.
Calcium, phosphorus, those were all actually in range. Like they were good. So I always try to make sure I get enough calcium. Would you suggest then, like with the, going against what the endocrinologist said about dosing once a day? I know Ray really talked about, kind of microdosing throughout the day. Would it be better to break up that 100 into smaller doses? Or would there still be some sort of like resistance? Is my body just like resisting it completely?
No, I mean, that's how we're supposed to do it. Like, I just don't think the body can utilize like 100 micrograms thrown into the blood at any one time. Like for what it's worth, I've kind of like experienced this. So I've taken 50 at a time and you feel good for a second. And then if you have to do anything like mildly stressful, I would go crazy hypothyroid at that moment. And it would feel like Ray described it. Like it felt like I had no thyroid function whatsoever. And so it feels like pretty miserable, but it kind of like you can't tell that it's happening until you have to do something kind of just slightly more stressful than usual. Then you can kind of tell how screwed, like how you don't have a base, but yeah, I mean, I think I hypothesized on one of these like endocrinologists do like crazy stuff and taking 100 at a time, like telling a person to do that's just so nutty. It's so crazy.
Okay. And the T4, would you say keep it or just not even take it if it makes you feel hypo? Like, is there any reason?
Well, checking the pulse and temperature before and after is like critical to figure out what's going on. And so like, for example, if your pulse and temperature are high before you take it, the T4, then you take it, your pulse and temperature after, and they're lower. I know it seems counterintuitive, but that would mean that it brought down the cortisol and the adrenaline, and that just might be revealing your lower basal metabolic rate. And so, but yeah, it's just going to be trying to figure out, like my basic contention is that for a low thyroid person, I think it's extraordinarily difficult to balance without T4. But as I said on the last episode, I think T4 gets this horrible rap, like even in the Peat world. But for me, it's like actually essential to function.
Okay. I'll try that. And
you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me kind of bounce that off you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So much.
Cheers. Yeah, cool. JT, what's up?
Hey, Danny. I got two quick ones for you.
Yes, sir.
Firstly, do you have any specific thoughts on Penicillin VK?
Yeah, I mean, I've used it a lot. It was the first antibiotic I ever tried. It basically stopped my diarrhea after like maybe 2 weeks of using it. And I thought it was like a miracle. I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And strengths and weaknesses, or would you just say, the goal is to potentially cycle through the main safe antibiotics?
Yeah, this is totally not scientific, but my like subjective experience is that the penicillin was like it seemed like weaker than the macrolides or the tetracyclines. The tetracyclines seem like the most powerful and also can have like side effects. And then the macrolides seem kind of in the middle, and then penicillin seems like the weaker of all the antibiotics. That doesn't mean it's bad, but yeah, I mean there aren't that many antibiotics that Ray talked about, so you just kind of systematically go through them and see if they help you. And like the caller mentioned earlier, like sometimes combining them is more effective than just taking one at a time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And secondly, what do you think mainstream or alternative health discussions will go in the future?
How do I think they'll go?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Twitter has been this interesting element that's like changed everything, like it seems like all the chatter is happening on Twitter, and I don't know, man. It's like, it's funny to like live just the short time I've been alive to see how it's changed. Like, I think I've said this a few times, but the health discussion used to happen on people's blogs a long time ago. Like YouTube, like only kind of developed around like 2008 or something. I don't remember any health content on YouTube except for Mercola, and maybe vegans were the only people kind of utilizing it. And low carb seemed like the dominant point of view other than veganism, and nothing else was really. It just like wasn't as big as it's kind of like how big nerd culture is now. Like you would have never been able to like think that would have been the case like 15, 20 years ago, and it's kind of like health. Like health has gotten so big and just normal. A lot of normal people talk about it, but I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not sure how it will play out, but it's there's definitely not that much nuance in it anymore. Like it seems hard to find that, but yeah. I'm sure Ray's work will be distorted like absolutely crazy. That's a certainty. Yeah,
for sure. Have you been thinking about anything else aside from hair loss?
In terms of health stuff?
Yeah, or in general. I know you've been thinking about silver and everything.
Yeah, like while we're talking, it's gonna go up another $1 or something. And I think people think that it's like, oh, it's like Nvidia stock or something. Like this is historical. This is insane. It's absolutely crazy. And so I mean, this is just nuts. But no, I'm not. I'm just thinking about what's gonna happen next year and how to position myself. But no, like for me, a lot of the hard work is done because the annoyance is about living here where the solar system, not having a fence, the dogs leaving all the time. And I've just, even though 2023 was like horrifically stressful for me, like the dogs running off the property and stuff, I think I've just nipped all that, and the power going out. I've just nipped all that stuff in the butt. And now I have like boring boomer problems. I have to like replace the windows because the rain leaks into the windows here. So I have to replace those. But no, I'm not really excited about the future, but I guess it will be interesting to see how it plays out. But I'm sure it's just going to be hard for everybody. I mean, the economic stuff seems really painful.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get a bit of entertainment along the way.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Thank you. Much love to you and the dogs.
Yeah, always good to talk to you. Who's next here? SMSTF. What's up?
Yo, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Man, I wanted to ask you a couple questions about what do you recommend for having fever and when it goes really up, and lung infections. I'm a bit sick, sorry.
So your first question about fever, I think we talked with Ray kind of extensively about it, but I don't recall all the details. Wasn't it like the body's capacity to increase the temperature for wellness in the face of, or like bacterial stress or something? I can't recall the exact mechanism, but I mean, if I were to have a fever or something, I'd just take an aspirin or something. That'd be my basic approach to it.
Well, my fever got a bit over like 40 degrees, so it kind of concerned me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have too much experience with that.
And lung infections, pneumonia, stuff like that.
Yeah, don't have tons of experience with that. I mean, my first thinking would be an antibiotic or something like that, but I'm not totally sure.
Maybe ivermectin.
I don't know. I still haven't really dug too deep into it. I think Ray had one negative thing to say about it, that it could cause like brain encephalopathy if like a person used it too much or the dose was too high or something. But I don't know. I know it was a darling of kind of the alt world, like news world, but I don't know basically anything about it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Muhammad, what's up?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's good?
I'm good. I had a few quick questions. First one was, you had mentioned earlier in the call about alongside raw carrot and mushrooms, like another thing to take that wasn't an antibiotic, but it had the word biotic in it. What was that?
A Megaspore biotic.
Megaspore biotic. Okay, cool. Okay, that's helpful. The second quick question I had, I've seen in the past that you had mentioned aniprin as an option, something you can get like the pet supply store. Is there any difference in supplementing that versus like a Jerry Care aspirin, or would you recommend kind of like the same approach?
You know what? That product has kind of fallen out of favor with me because it's kind of annoying. Like you have to process it for it not to like really irritate your gut. And so like the crystals are too big. And it doesn't dissolve that well when you heat it up. And so I kind of just got sick of like trying to dissolve it when I have access to the Bayer tablets, which are really similar to Jerry Care. And so I just use those 99.9% of the time. I still have a bunch of bottles of that stuff, and I've tried giving it to my dogs. It upsets their stomach. And so I just like kind of stopped using it, but I would use it if I ran out of Bayer, but the Bayer is just much easier to use.
Yeah. I kind of have the antiprint for like SHTF shit. Hits the fan,
that would be good.
And then the last question I had, so, I tried to experiment with retatrutide back in October, and definitely saw like the benefits, weight loss and all that sort of stuff. But when I did my blood work, my total cholesterol kind of tanked, and that's one of the side effects. Or I guess people, in the pseudo esoteric health world or whatever, like, oh, that's one of the benefits. But my cholesterol dropped to like 114. I wanted to know kind of like, what's like a good reference range that I should try to, I stopped taking the Retta, by the way. What's like a good reference range for total cholesterol, HDL, all that sort of stuff for good thyroid function? Because I definitely noticed, probably with work related stress and taking Retta, that could have caused my cholesterol to kind of tank.
My kind of arbitrary scale is like 160 to 200. And for HDL, like in LDL, the only way I think about that is a long time ago, Ray had said that like somebody asked him straight up what they should be. And he said it was complicated, but that you should have like 3 or 4 LDL per HDL. And that HDL can increase with estrogen exposure, alcohol, like over exercising can do it, like endotoxin. And so it's not really great to have your HDL really high. It's good that it means your body's working, like it's defensive, but it's not good to have it high, And then the LDL tends to follow the total. And so if the total is high, the LDL will usually be high as well. And the LDL is the part of cholesterol that's turned into the steroids. But for what it's worth, like, I mean, you probably infer this just from listening to these episodes, but I think total is like one of the best thyroid tests. And like, I just talked to somebody, their cholesterol was like 7 or 8 or something, which is like well over, like close to 300 or something. Like it's really high. And so again, that it just makes life easy when your cholesterol is that high. It's just like, obviously the person is extremely low thyroid. And then of course, when your cholesterol is too low, that's actually a lot more challenging. You have to troubleshoot a bunch of stuff to figure out why the liver isn't making enough.
Yeah. And then I know the other tests you recommend, TSH, prolactin, and then parathyroid. What are the reference ranges for all of those?
I'll try to include it in the show notes, but there's a paper by a guy named Horobin, and he says like the childhood average for a male is like 5 for prolactin, I think. And I think Ray had said like 4 to 7. So around there. And then a long time ago, I said, Ray, 10 for prolactin is high, right? And he's like, yeah. And there's a paper on women that 14 is associated with hypothyroidism. And anyway, so yeah, maybe around 5 or something is good for a man. I hardly ever see that. And parathyroid hormone is pretty easy. I think you want it on the basically suppress. You only need it to break down your bone for it to liberate calcium, like in an emergency. And so having it 12 or 13 is probably good. And what was the other one you said?
TSH.
Oh, that's like totally dependent on what the person is doing. Like if they're taking thyroid, maybe it should be under 1, but if they're not taking thyroid and it's under 1, that means their adrenaline is like, it's really high. And of course, like even if it was 1 or 2 and a person had a bunch of symptoms, that could be evidence of high adrenaline. And if it's high, obviously that's just typical low thyroid. And so it's like the TSH can be any number and the person can be like badly low thyroid. And so that just depends on all the symptoms they have and stuff like that. But Yeah, those are my general thoughts on that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I think I need to get the cholesterol up then because my prolactin actually dropped a lot. It was at 15 in July. Now I'm at 9.8. So I think
That's good.
kind of on the right track. And then parathyroid, I'm at 10. It was also at 15 before. So
That's really good.
yeah. Cool. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Avi, what's up?
Hey, Dan. I have a question about thyroid supplementation.
Yes, sir.
So last time you mentioned if something goes wrong with thyroid supplementation, 1 week of eating liver or oysters, your problems go away. So what if in the case of you don't have oysters and liver available, what food you would think is necessary to eat while doing thyroid supplementation?
If you did not have access to liver and oysters?
Yes.
There's a paper, I think it's by a guy named Harris, and it's like in the maybe 50s or something. And he says when you accelerate the rate of metabolism, you're going to need more of everything. And the reason why I think about that so much is I've talked to lots of like very dedicated repeat people, but they would never eat those foods. And in the back of my mind, I'd always think like, are you having these issues because you never eat these foods? like that's come up so many times, you know, talking to many, many people. And then I kind of just think about my own experience. Like if I think it'd be impossible to feel well if I did not have access to those foods. And so I think that's why I take it kind of like so seriously. But I mean, if a person really could not eat liver or oysters, I think eggs would be the next best thing, and maybe some like seafood and stuff like that. But for what it's worth, I don't think there's replacement for those foods. I think they're very unique and they have a kind of a special role in kind of supporting the metabolism.
Okay. And just a follow-up question. In my family, we don't have any problem with eating non-veg foods. But for me, I don't know, there is a problem with liver. If I eat raw or even eat cooked liver, I have instantly feeling of vomiting. I don't know, but I eat variety of non-veg foods. But specifically with liver, I don't know what happens. But I can't remember if it's from childhood or in adult life. But if I eat just by chewing the liver, I just get vomiting feeling. And on the contrary, my sister did not like the non-veg foods, but if she have to eat liver, she enjoys it. So I don't know what happens with me with liver.
Well, the product can make a huge difference. For example, I've tasted liver that made me want to throw up, you know? So like, for example, in LA, there was a fancy butcher called a Belcampo or something. And the guy sold me the worst liver I've ever had in my life. And it was super like milky brown. It smelled bad. And I kind of cooked it anyways. It was a huge mistake. I think I ate one bite and then wanted to like throw it up essentially. So I don't know. It takes a second to find the best source locally or on the internet. But if a person couldn't do that, then the next best thing would probably be making a pate out of it, or doing a high ratio of like ground beef to liver and cutting it up really small to like mix into the ground beef and then making tacos out of it or something. Like I'm positive there is a way to do it, you know, but you just kind of have like put on your chef hat and maneuver around the kitchen to figure it out. But the source is the most important thing, because if a person gets some old liver, I mean, it's going to taste disgusting. It's going to taste so gross.
Okay. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, cheers. Carson, what's up?
Hey, I kind of wanted to go off what Mohammed had some good questions. I know you were talking about cholesterol, and like if cholesterol is higher, that's usually like a good thing for thyroid. But if you're like, okay, here's a question. If you're high cholesterol, right, and you're technically like overweight, if you like get everything straightened out, do you see people just like losing weight naturally?
There's a paper by a guy named Landsberg, and I think the title is Body Temperature, the Forgotten Variable in Obesity, and he links up the temperature with caloric expenditure. And I mean, there's like hundreds of papers about obesity and thyroid, and I'm sure you've seen those kind of famous photos of the people that look like they're like 300 pounds, then they take thyroid and they lean out like crazy, you know? And so I think if a person were overweight, like I think I talked with Ray about this, like it does mean the stress is very dominant to the person, like especially cortisol. And I don't know of a way to get cortisol down very effectively without something like thyroid. So, I mean, it's a good starting place. Like otherwise it's just the brain dead caloric restriction thing that just ends up screwing a person up even more, like doing that, like the longer they do that, you know?
Right. No, that makes sense. I guess just what I was debating was like, and I agree with you, the whole cortisol to lose weight is terrible, but like if you're at a point where you're just like, dude, I just need to lose weight, I'm like, can then this is just for context what I'm thinking. Like, I'm just like, should I just like go into caloric deficit? Like, I don't want to, but just like do it temporarily until all the weight is gone and then jump on thyroid, or like, will, being on thyroid naturally lose the weight is kind of the thought process is what I'm thinking of.
Well, I mean, I checked the pulse and temperature first before I did anything, like just to see where you are. Like, say hypothetically your temperature was like 96 or something, that'd be like pretty bad hypothyroidism. And so, like, would you want to be fighting yourself the whole time, like, and like lower your metabolic rate further? Like, we know that person that was a yo-yo dieter that ended up like really overweight. I can think of multiple people right now. And so, so again, I think the caloric restriction route is essentially just digging a hole and making the whole situation worse. But I don't know if I'd want to approach that situation without checking the thyroid function.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But I mean, like, I agree with what you're saying. I guess what I'm getting at is like, yeah, I agree with you. Check your thyroid and everything. But if everything checks out with your thyroid and you do see the temperature, like you see your temperature increasing, your pulse is good now, and you're overweight, the weight should fall off, right? Like that should happen.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot easier. Like I told this story probably 100 times, but like I have like 3 pairs of pants, and if I just stop taking thyroid, I have to wear my bigger pants. Like my waist just blows out, like for no reason. I'm not eating different, So I think it's just like your weight set point is like stuck. It's like hard to get fat if you're taking thyroid. And so,
but will you lose weight? Will you lose weight though? Like will the weight actually fall off though?
Again, there's probably lots of damage done in that situation, like the person probably has lots of proof. Like this, I'm just trying to say the situation would be challenging, but I think the foundation would be at least be set so you could in a safe way. And whether that took, like you felt like being more active or walking, or like, for example, I think to an obese person, Ray recommended DHEA, and then they actually asked him about liposuction, and he said he was like okay with it, but the person just had to be aware with how like dangerous surgery is. But I think he said only if the person was like extremely overweight. But he told them DHEA was an important thermogenic aid for weight loss.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, the only reason I'm asking is because just like I just know, like, okay, there's another person in the Ray Peat sphere that I've talked to that has like said, once he got everything straightened out, like he was like the weight just fell off. Like he was like, I just lost like all the excess weight off his body. And then I've seen other people in the Peat sphere, like influencers, where they're like, they look more like overweight kind of, and I'm just like, I don't know, something is like off here. Like I don't know.
You're saying that something's off in the Ray Peat world on social media.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to what you were saying before. It's like, yeah, everything is backwards. You don't know who you're listening to. So it's like,
dude, sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, I joke and I say I'm Orthodox Ray, but like I would take him as the only person that like, because again, he was like 50 years older than I was, and when you asked him a question, you had his experience, his like firsthand knowledge of the subject, reading all the material on it, and so that's why getting an answer from him was so special. There wasn't a single time I asked him something that it wasn't completely clear to me that he hadn't read the primary literature or resources on it, like the most fringe concept, like concepts you can possibly imagine, and. So again, dude, it's a weird wild west out there right now. But I mean, again, you don't have to trust me or Ray Peat. Like thyroid historically has been used for weight loss. Like I mean, there's no doubt about it. And so whether somebody is using like that information correctly, like I have no idea. I don't know what other people are doing. But I mean that's true. For what it's worth.
Yeah. No, that's true. Okay, cool. Thanks for the info. The other thing I want to ask you was about what Muhammad actually asked about the Megaspore, because I saw it on I think you link it in Bioenergetics, right?
Probably. I mean, a lot of people are not comfortable with antibiotics, so I always try to mention it just as an alternative.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw it linked, and then I was watching the video, and I didn't see you talk about it, but I saw it linked, and then I wound up buying it the other day because I saw it linked on there, and I was like, if he linked it, it's probably like something legit. But I was just curious, like what. I guess how does it work really well? That I think the one I got was like the HU58, like there was 2 you linked. There was one that was like combo probiotic, and then there was another one that was like one specific strain.
I think it's Bacillus subtilis, but that strain has been found to like make antibiotics that oppose endotoxin. And so it's yeah, I mean the product that originally contained those, I think it's called Biosporin, and they used it in Russia for a long time, like with babies for like infections and stuff like that, super safe. And so yeah, if person had bad digestion, like lots of gas and stuff, I'd probably try that if the carrot salad and the well-cooked button mushrooms didn't work that well.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, thanks, man.
Silver is going to go to $80 on this call. That's going to be
dude. What is up with silver right now? Is it like is it a buy or what? Or what are you? Not investment advice.
Yeah, not a financial advisor.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people that are following are saying this, the system is essentially breaking. That's why these metals are going parabolic. But what do I know? But it's just crazy to see, because I don't think these are all historical like levels. They've never happened before. So it just speaks of the time.
Wow.
Cool, brother. Hey, pleasure.
Thanks.
Fungus Among Us, what's up?
Okay, so I have a hopefully fun question. You know how Ray said that when people pass away, to think about that their life is going on in inferior bodies. Have you had any signs of that? And I've been listening to the telepathy tapes, and it's been an interest of mine for a long time, of like basically signs of life beyond death. And yeah, I had this funny idea of like trying to contact Ray through spirit medium. And what would you ask him to be like a code thing to know that it's really him? Don't say it, but just think about it.
I heard about that series, but I have not watched it. Man, I don't know. Like sometimes, like not that often. Like I don't think like Ray and I had some super special relationship or anything. You know, and I think we're really different, like as people. You know, but obviously I have this insane amount of respect for him, and am in complete total awe of what he had done. You know, and the health world being so bad, and him being so like pure and awesome. It's just like this crazy dichotomy, you know, like, or juxtaposition. I don't know the right word. And then just talking to him, like I said this on Twitter, but he never asked me for anything. Like in like 13 years of talking to him, he never said like, can you put that on there? Can you do this? Can you change that title? He never said anything. So anyways, like occasionally, like I had read some email of his, and I think I had shared it on the Telegram, talking about how we're, I'm going to butcher this, but like we're all interconnected, you know? And like sometimes when I would just randomly be reading that stuff, like have like emotional response to it, you know? But no, I can't like honestly with a straight face tell you some like divine connection or experience or anything like that. But no, I don't know. I watched all Michael Persinger's like videos and like contact of people after death and stuff, but no, I haven't had any experiences, and I don't know what I'd even like ask to verify that it was him or something like that.
Yeah, it was a funny idea I had, but yeah, I really appreciate that you're doing this. I think you're really honoring his spirit by
hey, appreciate you
answering questions.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, it's I think this has been oversaid, but just him answering email and stuff was just such a special thing. Like it just didn't happen with like people that had status in the health world. And I think I emailed him real early on, and he replied to me. I couldn't believe it. So just such a special person.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yep. Luna, what's going on?
Hi again.
Yeah.
I totally second that. It is so, I wasn't like part of the following repeat, you know, when he was alive, and it's been so like just such an honor to like have you do this stuff and just keep his spirit alive. Like it's been really special. So thank you.
Of course.
So I wanted to say really quickly that just for everybody that was talking about H. pylori and the infection stuff, I had H. pylori and I actually got rid of it using broccoli sprouts, which I know are not good for your thyroid, or it's debatable whether they're bad, but an HU58, and it literally went away. Like broccoli sprouts are supposed to eradicate H. pylori, and it worked for me.
Nice.
So, and the other thing I was going to say that was really interesting, and you had me, you had encouraged me to take antibiotics. And the thing I noticed was after taking them, I had no bacteria on the toilet. Like it doesn't build up. I don't have to clean it. And that was really like the tongue thing is one issue, but that was something that I noticed. So I don't know if that's helpful for anybody. So it like the toilet just doesn't get, I mean, it's gross, but it doesn't get dirty, you know? So
Oh, awesome. Yeah. That must be the pH. Or
yeah.
something.
So, okay. So I'm just, cause I'm a neophyte, I just wanted to go back to the T3 for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. I know this is probably your favorite topic. But I am just wondering, after what you said, is that if it's better to take it, like if I'm eating smaller meals throughout the day, if it's better to take a smaller amount when I eat rather than just splitting up to 3 times to just, and I'm just testing it because I didn't feel comfortable taking T4 yet just because of committing to it. And I didn't know what it was going to do.
What are you like normally a person will eat it with food. Is that what you're asking? Like to take it 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying I've been taking it 3 times per day, but if I'm eating like 4 or 5 little smaller meals throughout the day, is it better to take it at those times throughout the day?
It would just depend on the total dose. So like, for example, if a person was taking 10 micrograms and they could split it up into 2 doses or something, but if they were taking 15, they'd have to split up into 3. And so it's just really dependent on the dose of how many times a person's going to take it every day.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know yet. And then also at night, I know Ray was saying like you need T3 to sleep well, and it lasts about 12 hours. Is that right? The T3?
I think it's technically like still in the body or 12 hours, but it peaks after an hour, I think.
Okay. So it's still working, but just like less so.
Yeah, but T4 is really the thing to get a person through the night most of the time. But I mean, I guess if you eat the T3 with food, it could probably last a few hours. And so for some people that does work, I think.
So if you're waking up, I mean, I was waking up before ever that was happening. So, but if you're waking up like around 4 or 5, then it may be that you don't have enough T4.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Like, I mean, that's a super common thing, like waking up at 4 and just being unable to go back to bed. And like the person feels very awake. And I think that's from maybe high adrenaline, high cortisol in the morning time.
Yeah. What if you just go right back to bed?
I mean, that's probably better than being unable to go to bed. But I mean, for what it's worth, I think like a mixture of vitamin D, good bowel health, thyroid, progesterone, I think those in some right amount will usually allow a person to get through the night. And if I'm like waking up all the time, I feel like something is wrong.
Yeah, I'm only waking up like once or twice. It's gotten much better. So, but I do think that like from all the accidents and stress, my liver was very burdened. And so I'm just hoping like the T3 helps clear out some stuff in my liver. I've only been taking it for a few days. So it's not like I haven't been taking it for a long time, you know? So I don't know yet. But I was going to say something interesting with the iron thing. I know Ray talked about this, about like getting acquainted with the, substances, and all my plants were iron deficient. When I was feeling, all of a sudden they started all having like these problems, and I looked it up and it was an iron issue. And then I also had construction and the copper was taken off of my house. So I just thought that was so interesting because those were my deficits.
Oh, we're not. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. So anyway, okay. Well, thank you. Oh, one last question, just for my dad. Like, when someone is not breathing well or struggling, and it can most likely be nitric oxide, right? Lactic acid, nitric oxide.
Yeah, I think my understanding is nitric oxide is like an emergency vasodilator. And so it would definitely mean that the thyroid was low, the CO2 was too low.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Malachi, what's up?
Hey, I was just wondering what your experience was like with DHT.
Yeah, so 2021 was not a great year for me. It was all like the pieces were falling in place that my life was like going to be radically different, and I wasn't super happy about it. Like, I didn't even want to come back to Mexico, technically. Like, I was essentially living in Thailand and didn't necessarily want to leave. And we were doing like the saving grace was we were doing the podcast very regularly. And we were having Ray on like every few weeks or something like that. It was like pretty crazy. And man, like, it's hard to explain, but like those podcasts were so stressful. Like, like because my neighbor downstairs was like streaming Netflix whenever I'd be doing them, and so the connection was so bad, and like Georgie'd be late to him. Ray would be on there, and Ray at a certain point was telling me that we only had like an hour with him. So like Georgie would come and it'd be like 45 minutes. So we'd wasted time, and my connection would be going in and out. And it was just like, and it wouldn't record or some bullshit like that. So it was like a lot on me to think about and then to have a conversation at the same time. And so my like stress was through the roof for those calls. You know, they weren't fun for me. But I just knew how important they were. And anyways, long story short, I'm setting this up because that was the time that I got to try DHT. And I remember it having a profound effect. And I remember, I think I'm talking about it on one of those episodes saying that. And I think it was like a perfect in the moment type of thing. Like I needed something to take the edge off like at that time. And that really helps, you know, but since then I've used it multiple times and never got that same relief from it. And I think with the right dose of DHA, you can kind of do similar things, but again, I wouldn't ever steer a person away from using it if they were in a country that it was legal, but it was just the right thing at the right moment for me because those podcasts were like crazy stressful for me and just always technical problems and stuff like that.
That's super interesting. How did you use it? And were you using Intractum or were you getting it from a Purple Panda or something online?
At that time, I was consulting with a chemist and he graciously offered to send me some powder. And so I purchased Georgie's Tocovit and then I measured it out and dissolved it into vitamin E. And was Georgie's Tocovit, I think he did not offer the olive oil at the time. And so it was MCT oil. And that was around the time that I figured out that if I ate anything with MCT oil, it would bug the hell out of my stomach. And so I think I did try it a few times, but just like I thought it did bug my stomach. And so I just started putting it on my leg. It just had like a very powerful relaxation effect. Like it's just like allows you to feel what the aloof male feels like. You just like don't care about anything, like in a good way. You don't care about minutia. And so it was just like, that's the MO of androgens, is not caring about stupid stuff. And I just remember being very relaxed taking it. So again, my estrogen must have been high at the time and it just lowered and it just caused a really profound relaxation.
Okay, cool. Earlier in the year, I was struggling with white tongue and symptoms of bacterial overgrowth. Because of that, I was using a high-dose minocycline at around 100 milligrams a day with Camphisal and aspirin and extra vitamin K. And I didn't actually experience that much relief. Since then, I've started experimenting with a much lower dose. I don't even know how much it is, but I've been breaking open the tablet and taking a small sprinkle from the pill. And from there, my white tongue vanished pretty much immediately. There's been no Camphisal, no aspirin. I've been using vitamin K, but I was just wondering what your thoughts on that would be.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm not sure why that would be. I think I've shared a few times that I think the tetracyclines can be really powerful, like hypoglycemic agents. So sometimes I would, I think it was with Doxy, but I took it before I went to bed one time. And then I woke up in like an extreme panic, like it had lowered my blood sugar really badly. And I think I've felt the same thing with tetracycline. And I think I've felt the same thing with minocycline. So again, this is a Hail Mary, but maybe it's just working better if you're taking a smaller amount and it's not lowering your blood sugar or something like that. I'm not sure.
All right, cool. And is there anything that you would keep an eye out for or use to troubleshoot minocycline while using it? How long do you think it would be feasible to take for?
Well, I don't know if it still exists, but there was a video on the internet of some doctor saying that he gave it to people for arthritis to take forever. And I think Ray had echoed that in some interview that people were taking it for long periods of time, because I think it's like an anti-nitric oxide drug. And so if a person has some chronic inflammatory situation or like so-called autoimmune disease, sometimes they'll benefit from taking it for a longer period of time. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if a person doing that is not taking care of other things, like low vitamin D can turn on nitric oxide, low calcium could turn on nitric oxide, like stomach problems could turn on nitric oxide. So it would probably be important to investigate like the nature of the problem. But as far as troubleshooting minocycline, like I think you did it, like trying less. Like I think that was probably a really intelligent approach to that. And I don't know if there's any other troubleshooting besides making sure a person's taking vitamin K. That's probably the most important thing.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool, brother. What's going on, Henry?
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's good? What's going on?
I was curious about kind of your experience taking thyroid, and I was wondering if like you feeling better on thyroid coincided with temperature kind of like approaching normal levels. So like yeah, does that do you normally feel better like once the temperature starts going up, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, that was my foray into all this. Like, nobody had to tell me that I felt terrible when I was cold. I knew it. Like, it was just, you didn't feel like doing anything when you were cold. It's like a complete survival mechanism. Like, you feel like being intimate or something with a girl, like when you're freezing cold, like it feels miserable, you know? And so, yeah, so that I used to work at Apple retail and I was vegan and I was like shivering during my work thing. Like, I'd have to wear multiple shirts, multiple sweatshirts. And nobody else in the store was as cold as I was, like even these tiny petite girls. And so that was kind of the start of it. And then, I mean, I went through a bunch of like modalities that made no sense. And then I got to Ray and he was saying like big organisms with large brains need to be warm to function well. And how he put it, I just never heard before. But yeah, that's the expectation that a person's symptoms will be alleviated when their temperature comes up. And so far I have not like seen that be untrue, you know? But yeah, I could tell you that I feel a lot like a lot better when I'm warm, and I don't feel as good when my hands and feet are cold. One other thing, like the low temperature coincides with inflammation, stress, and so I think that's like the big selling point is that when your temperature is high, you just correspondingly need less stress hormones, less inflammation.
Right. Yeah. And do you personally like do you go through times where you need thyroid and then times where you don't need thyroid?
Yeah, like in the winter time, I'll take more. In the summertime, I'll take less. But
Okay.
but it just depends everything that's going on in my life.
Okay. And if a hypothetical person, like was waking up between 95 and 96, or okay, in the 96s, and they're starting armor thyroid specifically, like I think the reference number is like 97.8 for wake up, right? And then up to 98.6 in the afternoon, or am I off?
No, that's my understanding.
Okay. And I was also wondering, like, if a different hypothetical person was like on just thyroxine for like 30 years, was diagnosed hypothyroidism based off like blood work, and then was just on thyroxine alone for like 30 years, and their temperature was like 95. Like, would what would be like a sort of like, I don't know, introduction to taking T3? Because I would think that like T3 would kind of, because I mean, if your temperature is like 95 and you've been taking thyroxine for 30 years, I mean, is it even working? Like,
I've almost, in my limited experience, I've almost always seen this go badly. And that's really the best situation there is trying to get the person on board and like giving them material and stuff like that. Because I like, for example, I've talked to people in that exact same situation and they would add in like 5 micrograms of T3 and they would have a crazy adrenaline reaction. And so the person taking the T4 for that long, they're so hypometabolic that they can be destabilized like crazy with small amounts of T3. And so like you cannot be careful enough in that situation. And again, like I said, you just want to onboard them to trying to get them to listen to Ray or reading from PMS to menopause or something, because I think it's going to be a tough road, and maybe getting like armor, something that digests slowly, and subtracting some of the T4 and adding in the armor or something like that, like something like that could work. But again, that's like a sticky, difficult situation, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's what okay. Thank you. And that I think even like in previous questions that I've asked you, you've mentioned that like your scalp used to hurt. Like this was kind of before you were like getting into like Ray Peat stuff, and you noticed like your scalp hurt. And I've had the exact same experience, and I was wondering if you figured out why your scalp hurt.
Yeah, it's funny because when I used to hang out on like hair loss forums, there was a post a day about that, but it was like never intertwined with the pathology of baldness. Like nobody took it seriously, but it was just everybody that wasn't like indoctrinated with like DHT genetics. Like it seemed like anybody that was having an actual scientific approach to it knew that like their scalp was inflamed. And I was a long time ago, I was prescribed like some type of cortisone cream for it, but I mean, the short of it, I think it's just like systemic high inflammation. That would be my basic way of looking at it. But the amount of people that told me they would take some intestinal disinfectant and their scalp would stop hurting is significant. Like I've heard that so many times. And then sometimes aspirin will do it.
Okay, and then I just had one question about this Ray Peat quote. Let me see if I can about something about I just couldn't find where it was from, and I had heard you talking about it and I was like interested in it. But it was something about all the versions of yourself being in one room, and I was just wondering where that was from.
It was to somebody. Yeah, it was to somebody I know who had like a bad like childhood trauma, I think, if I remember right. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to give you like a better like philosophical explanation of that, but it kind of makes sense to me. For example, I used to, when I was with different friends, I would act different. And I think about with Carl Rogers, he was like a psychotherapist that did client-centered therapy. And he used to say that people that he thought were like unwell were incongruent with themselves. They would be different people in different situations. And he thought an attribute of wellness was becoming congruent with yourself. That doesn't mean you're going to have the same expectation of every single day or some things are going to be different. You're going to be different, but it not like radically incongruent, I think. And I think Ray was offering like a deeper explanation based on like resonance for that. Your metabolism dictates cellular resonance, and that's who you most closely align with. So for example, if I took like an anti-thyroid drug right now, like maybe I would resonate most closely with like depressed high school Danny or something like that. That's the very simple way that I look at that. But
right.
But yeah, I love that quote, but it's like slightly mysterious to me. Reading something like that, you really separates Ray from any other health person that's ever existed.
No, yeah, totally. Like the kind of more, I don't know, holistic way of looking at like physiology, I guess is kind of what has made me really trust it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so is there somewhere I can actually like see where he was talking about that, or is that like some like old conversation that he had with like a specific person?
I'm trying to think if there was more to it. Like, I mean, if you maybe I'll put in the show notes as much as I have from it. I don't think it was more than that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah.
Check the show notes on Substack, and I usually wait a day and then I'll update the show notes with all the references and stuff.
Will do. As always, thank you. Thank you
cool,
very
bro.
much. This
Yeah, cheers.
Awesome.
Yep. What's
Hey,
going on?
Danny.
Yo, what's
Can
up?
you hear me?
Yeah, what's good?
Yeah, just for male hair loss, I was wondering, besides thyroid, diet, vitamin, sunlight, the basic stuff and thyroid, what would you say is like the most impactful thing to help it? I was thinking it could be like high dose progesti, which I have been doing, but what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think the most effective thing would be besides the basic, repeat principles?
I think the progesterone will usually backfire at some point, and it will start, I think, messing with the libido, like make a person essentially temporarily impotent. But I think
Sure.
I made a video a long time ago about aspirin being like the only real hair loss drug, and I stand by that. Like I think that's true, and I think a lot of people don't know that there's lots of evidence of taking different amounts of aspirin. Like I'll talk to somebody and I'll ask them about aspirin. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm taking 325," and I don't think they know that you can take grams of it. So, but I'm not necessarily saying to take grams for hair loss, but I'm just saying that did you see that paper in 2012 showing that prostaglandins and histamine were involved in hair loss? Like I think the inflammatory state in baldness is like pretty severe. So it might take kind of equally intense intervention to try to slow it down or stop it or reverse it. And so again, like having a larger dose of aspirin at a person's disposal, as long as they take vitamin K and they dissolve it in hot water and they don't take too much at one time, I think is a pretty valuable tool in the toolbox. But
okay, thank you. Yeah, I do that. I take aspirin with baking soda and vitamin K.
Other than that, I'm sure maybe you've seen the quote, but I think somebody asked Ray a really similar question, and they're like, "What else?" And he said vitamin K. And so like a big 10, 20, 30, 45 milligrams of vitamin K might be valuable as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. I see.
Luna, last question. What's going on?
Hi, Danny. I just wanted to say really quickly in response to the parts work or the integration. Your intuition's amazing. But what you're saying about the different parts, but I am a trauma therapist and that's what I do. And I didn't know Ray said that, about the integration of different parts of yourself. So it's fascinating. And if people are interested, there's a self technique called IFS, internal family systems. And it's basically like working with the parts of yourself, almost like the rungs of a tree, like all coming together. And there's another one called lifespan integration, which is you have to do the therapist, but the IFS, it's like a self therapy. So, and it's just learning more about the parts of yourself and understanding like how they get activated. So I just thought I would share that.
No, thanks for sharing that. That topic is endlessly interesting to me. And I think it was an old interview between him and I think trauma comes up frequently. I think that it's almost like the topic of the entire podcast. But I don't know why I love hearing him talk about it. I thought it was such like a refreshing, interesting perspective to tie it into physiology, hormones like serotonin and things. But yeah, I think that it's very valuable to have that type of stuff, like a mild understanding of it when you're talking to people, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, I'd be really interested in that episode because I don't think I've seen that.
It's on YouTube, but I'll put it in the show notes, but it's like a pink cover with mountains or pink purple cover with mountains. And it's probably one of my favorite conversations with him.
Okay. And the thing I was going to say is really interesting. And he's kind of changed my life from the standpoint of like, I've always helped people get off meds since I started like 20 years ago. And it kind of goes against everything, in my field. And since I've learned about the serotonin and his view on all of that, I can honestly tell you that every single client that I see that is going through stressful circumstances and whatnot, their serotonin's high and they get put on SSRIs or whatnot. And then it really just compounds the issues. And so it's really helped me to reevaluate, like, just my whole field and the drugs paired with, diagnoses and whatnot. So I just think his work in that sense is invaluable.
Yeah, agreed. That's tragic that they're put on SSRI.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I can tell you that doing the IFS work and lifespan integration, I've had probably 95% of my clients come off meds.
Wow.
So, yeah. Anyway, I hope that helps. And yeah, if you ever have questions about that stuff, I'm happy to share resources and whatnot. So you can, always send me an email or something if there's any information that I can pass on to you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see the episode and
always a pleasure. Thanks for
it. Thank you. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Yep. Cool, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Total pleasure as always. Thank you guys so much for the questions. You guys are the best. And I'll be back here on Friday and I'll try to get this out as soon as possible.